Hi everyone, my name's PK, and here I have the lovely Kelly Ray from Toowoomba Property First National. She's a property manager, and I'm really excited to sort of interview her today because there's a lot that we're going to cover that I get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of you asking me about. We're going to go through how to find a good property manager, how a property manager can do a pre-purchase inspection for you so you forego the need for a buyer's agent, how to get off-market deals, and her experience with my clients, key things to look out for in a house before actually buying it, her sort of take and view on the Toowoomba property and rental market, like is the rental growth more to come or is it now stagnating out? And maybe if we get time as well, sort of the biggest mistakes that she sees investors make. So whether you're looking in Toowoomba or not, everything that we'll be discussing will probably be incredibly relevant for national wide in terms of property investment. And she's a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience. She got into the industry, I think she was just telling me before I hit record, in 2001. So that's more than 20 years of experience. She's an investor herself. So I'm very grateful to you, Kelly, to make time and share your knowledge with us today.
Absolutely, PK. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, looking
Um,
forward to share with you viewers.
I also have to say, like, I think your profile on, I was reading it online, like, on the property management, like the Toowoomba Property First National website. It says that you've got like a bubbly personality, and that's 100% true. Like, I can already see it. And for those of you who don't know, I did like a live in-person event in Brisbane like a year or so ago, and Kelly very kindly came and shared some of her insights as well. And a lot of people got a lot out of it. So she's a real deal, and just this conversation may save you tens of thousands of dollars or make you that much as well. So stick around right till the end. Welcome to the Oz Property Investment Mastery Podcast. My name's PK, and I help busy people build passive income by buying top 5% growth and cash flow property and build a portfolio using data without wasting months doing research, spending weekends at inspection or catching flights, or dropping $10,000 to $20,000 on buyer's agents every single time. So if you're confused, lack confidence, and just overwhelmed with all the information and marketing misinformation available online and don't know where to start, then this show is for you. Maybe just to start off with, Kelly, how did you why are you passionate about property management? Like, how did you get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I was just saying to PK, my genuine passion for property, started back in 2001. Worked in a display home at the time. I actually started a university degree in a whole other different field, but once I sort of started working, with people and property, that was it for me. Absolutely had to get my real estate license, and the rest is history. I've worked in mostly Toowoomba markets, but I've also had some time up in Darwin and Brisbane as well. But definitely spent most of my professional career here in Toowoomba. And I've definitely seen, the peaks and the troughs and the peaks, and it's been an absolute ride, I guess. The last couple of years in particular, with regards to property growth here, and welcoming all of the wonderful investor inquiry to our marketplace.
Wonderful. And I mean, I always say, and it's probably something that well, not probably, definitely something I really believe in. I think that property managers are the most important part of your team, a
Mm,
property investors
mm.
team. Like, you've got mortgage brokers, conveyancers, building and pest, da 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 da. But there's no one that has a relationship with you and your property as much and for as long as a duration as a property manager. It's not a transaction for them. It's really a long-term relationship.
Wow.
You've worked with, I think you were saying before, more than 150 of my
Yeah,
clients over the previous years. And so obviously that's a giveaway. We've been buying a lot into them. But,
yeah.
for those of you, let's say they're not clients, how do people find and identify a good property manager? Because I think people don't even know that they exist. I think they think, oh, everyone's a real estate agent, like they're to sell something, but
Mhm.
property managers are different. But how do you actually find a good one?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, PK, I'm still a pretty firm believer on reviews and recommendations through word of mouth. I think, you know, if you can latch on either through different Facebook communities and that sort of thing, and ask people what their experience has actually been like, or do you have a recommendation, you know, based on your individual experience in any particular area, you know, all over Australia. I think that's really good if other people have had positive experiences. Beyond that, again, you know, some agencies, depending on where you're looking at buying, some agencies may or may not even have a property management department. So even in our local marketplace, there's agencies here that just do sales only. Sometimes they refer to, for example, property management agencies that only, you know, devote their time to property management as well. But I also think, you know, just pick up the phone and start ringing around, because at the end of the day, you've got to feel that connect and confidence with, you know, whoever it is that you're about to hand over the keys to your, you know, to your investment property. And ask the questions, you know, devise yourself a bit of a list. And I think one of the most important things is experience. You know, I mean, we've got great people in our team that are new to the industry, but I also think that it's still really important that, you know, that somebody has got at least a couple of years under their belt, you know, in property management as well. You know, asking questions like how many properties do you manage is also very relevant. And obviously, if they are supported by admin, for example, at Toowoomba Property, we also have like a full-time leasing consultant as well. So we're able to sort of explain to our potential clients that, you know, once upon a time, you know, when it was just PMs doing showings for the property, they would have to pick days and times that worked around their calendar. Whereas now we literally show our properties 6 days a week, so including Saturdays as well, with a leasing consultant. So I think it's important to ask if, you know, teams do have extra support, and because these are the little things that can impact obviously the duration in which your property is going to, you know, potentially sit vacant on the rental market. You know, ask for their key points of difference. You know, a good property manager or a business development manager that a lot of agencies are employing now will be able to tell you what their key points of difference are. You know, and obviously find somebody that aligns with what you're needing from a property manager as well. We try to foster really personal relationships with our clients. We're actually starting to do videos now when we're actually out at our properties doing routine inspections as well. And just fostering that, you know, a much closer connection with our clients, you know, I think is really important as well. And ask for testimonials and, you know, reviews. Jump on their websites, have a look and see what other people, you know, have said about that business as well. Yeah, so that kind of
Makes
touches on that
sense.
point. Yeah.
I just think that there's so many people who are like super, because they're not experienced, they feel that they can't even take that first step that you're talking about, like have that conversation, and they're like, okay, I live in Sydney, I live in Melbourne, let's say I want to buy in Toowoomba. Like I just don't even know how to approach it, and that's why they then like pay some sort of company X dollars to do it all for them. But I just want to like break it down into the micro. So they've got their phone in their hand and they've researched, let's say, your company, and they found you online and they put your number in and they call you. Like, how do they start that conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we take hundreds of phone calls like this every week, every month. So basically just introducing yourself, you know. Hi, I'm Kelly. I live in Melbourne. You know, I've been keeping an eye on the Toowoomba market for some time now. I'm really, considering it as an investment option. At this stage, I'm just trying to work out or find a property manager that I can put on my team, because like what you said, it is a team, these professionals that you want to align yourself with in your investment journey, and finding that property manager early is really valuable. Also ask if they can offer support, I guess, in terms of providing them with advice about the market, if they have time available to even go out and have a look through properties. I know that's what most of my working week is made up of these days, is I actually go out and I do video walkthroughs for my potential investor clients. We have established in our marketplace what's called an investor support service. So, it pretty much is all the work that a buyer agent would do, only we have, feet on the ground, real personal knowledge about our marketplace, the suburbs, the different areas and streets and neighbourhoods that may or may not have higher portions of housing commission properties, as an example, flood-prone areas or anything like that. I think it's really important to find a property manager that has an attitude where they can assist you, because not all agencies, depending on property managers' existing workloads, even have capacity to offer investors that additional support. And I think if you're looking at buying property from Interstate, you absolutely need to have a local property manager relationship established, right at the start of your search, okay?
Sure.
Even if you do or don't purchase a property through that agency though, that property manager will hold your hand the whole time through. And obviously once you are successful in buying a property, you can easily still, decide to have your property managed, through that agency where your property manager supported you through. Yeah.
Sure. I suppose that's the carrot on the stick for the property management business. I mean, when I started doing this myself, the first property I bought, it was in East Gosford, and I wasn't living in Central Coast at the time in New South Wales, and I'd called the property managers in 2011 and asked whether they could do like an inspection for me. And they just said, "Oh, no one's ever asked this before, but I suppose so. Like, I don't see why not." And they, because they were locals, they knew everything, and they gave me such a good rundown. And I was like, I had no idea the service even existed. And yeah, like even nowadays when I, prophesize about or sort of espouse that, hey guys, you may not need a buyer's agent, just use a property manager because they're actually locals and they've actually lived there for many years, and they're going to ultimately, manage your property. And so who better to get that pre-inspection done, as long as, of course, you get a building and pest inspection done as well. Then why do you need a buyer's agent? You can have that on the ground, boots on the ground knowledge without needing to pay $10,000 or $15,000. But the sort of retort or I could say argument or question I often get, Kelly, is, oh, but hey, PK, how can we trust that property manager is going to tell us the truth? Because oftentimes at this point, we haven't actually paid you anything, right? We're going to pay you most cases actually when we've settled the property and it's renting, and you're going to take whatever, 7, 8, 9, 10% of it, as is the norm. So what's your answer to that question of like, how do we trust the property manager is going to do the right thing at that pre-inspection?
Absolutely. Well, I guess when I get asked, that same question, we actually have nothing to gain out of being false. The videos that I do for my clients, a lot of the feedback is, oh, well, the sales agent sent me a video, but I tell you what, that they didn't show me what you showed me. We are here to protect you, and we want to establish that trustful and honest and transparent relationship early on, because in turn, we want to be able to manage your asset. So we want you to be purchasing quality property in good areas that's going to attract you a good quality tenant, where you're going to be able to maximise your rental value, minimise your vacancy period, obviously. And that only comes from being honest. I tell you what, Pika, I've looked at so many properties and I've, had to send through these videos to clients, and then we have conversations after that and we go, well, hang on, I don't think this is quite the one that you're looking for, or there's been like cracks in external brickwork like this, so even before they've had to spend hundreds of dollars on a building report, we've sort of started to be able to identify even maintenance considerations that potentially they weren't aware of, because, sales photography is glossy and fabulous, and, they're trying to market and sell that property for you. But we're there to just check if there's any skeletons in the closet, to make sure that our clients have a very real and transparent understanding of that property's true condition. I've also seen selling agents use photos from, for example, like if it's a tenanted property, photos from when the house was last vacant. And then say, for example, if there's not a good tenant in place, and we come out and we're looking at all of this, we're thinking, oh, hang on, guys, you might be inheriting a bit of a headache of it, like if there's people there that aren't looking after the property with the respect that we expect our tenants to look after them as well. So, we don't want our clients to purchase properties that are going to give them problems, drama, headache, having to constantly spend money on additional maintenance. Because if we're going to be managing that asset, we don't want that drama only either, like believe me, So yeah, we want our clients to purchase good quality property. And I simply would not have been so fortunate to have received the referrals and recommendations I do personally, if I didn't do the right thing. I think that's one of the biggest things. And I tell you what, PK, people start ringing around other agencies all over Australia. You will come to your own conclusion. Is this the right property manager for me? And it might take you 2 or 3 phone calls to property managers within any local area until you find the one that you think, hey, they're really proactive. I love their communication. Their rental reports are really thorough. They're giving me really good, solid feedback. Because not only do we look for, I guess, and I'm not a builder, I don't pretend to be, and I would always caution and highly recommend against ever buying a property without a B&P. But I've been doing it long enough now that I can identify issues. You can see rusted gutters and you can see where, for example, even underneath, kitchen sinks, if the shelving's, swollen, or look the other side of an ensuite or a bathroom wall or a wet area and see skirtings that have shown signs of, water penetration, that sort of thing. So, even before clients do a B&P, we're actually able to sort of just give them the heads up and say, hey, just be aware of these few things. If you're still wanting to move forward with the purchase, that's entirely up to you. But I need to highlight, that these are some considerations. And not just maintenance, also renovations or cosmetic improvement suggestions as well. Because again, sales photography may not show up the stains on the carpet or how frayed and worn the flooring really is. So, when we go out and we look through our properties, we're already putting together a bit of a cost analysis for our clients to say, hey, look, the floors are looking a bit tired. I think if we do this, it's going to cost X amount of dollars, but it's going to increase your rental value by this amount. So we're constantly in communication, supporting our clients in that regard to make informed decisions that they're comfortable with. And then I think once their offers are accepted, it gives them even further bargaining room once their B&P comes back, obviously, but their initial offer's been made already, sort of taking into consideration, well, hang on, there might be a bit of money that needs to be spent here, and then they can negotiate even after the B&P comes back. So
it sounds very thorough, and I think the big word or takeaway is accountability. Like if you're not doing a good job as a property manager in the pre-purchase inspection, then that's gonna, like you said, it's gonna come and bite your own bum in the future, because you're the one managing hundreds of these types of assets. Whereas, I mean, and there's always good and bad people in any industry, but if you're paying someone for a transaction and they're trying to find you a property, and then it's just transaction, and then they're not accountable 10 years later, 5 years later, 15 years later, then I think, the incentive structure isn't as strong as if you had gotten
Absolutely
a
right.
property
You're
manager to
absolutely
do it.
right. Yeah.
Um,
And I think just even touching on that, like I'm surprised at the number of buyer agents. I mean, we're aware that they're active in the market, obviously, but the number of BAs that haven't even visited Toowoomba yet, you know what I mean? And they're responsible for, people are paying them thousands of dollars to purchase stock. And, yeah, I just think you really need to have a good PM on your team, establish that relationship early. And, you'll feel and you'll find the right person. And, whether they are or aren't part of, your general following or your groups and that sort of thing, asking in even wider Facebook communities, hey, I'm looking at purchasing in this area. Can anybody recommend me a good property manager? And, I think based on people's experiences, that's really important as well. And then you'll
yeah,
feel it. When you pick up the phone and you start interviewing your property managers, you'll feel it,
yeah,
because you want someone that's really motivated and enthusiastic about that job as well. And, some agencies, as I said, I mean, they do employ specific business development managers to help, grow the business and foster these new investor relationships as well. And those agencies that have BDMs, they're usually the ones that have the, more time available to them to be able to go out, run around, do all of your video walkthroughs as well. We usually do desktop appraisals initially and just sort of get a bit of a vibe for the location and the initial expected rental value. And then if we want to pursue it, that's when we're picking up the phone straight away and organising video walkthroughs. And ask your property manager, do you have good relationships with other sales agents in the area? Because even though I work for Toowoomba Property First National, I'm very fortunate that I've got great relationships with other agencies as well, where if I pick up the phone and say, hey, I've got an investor that's interested in this, can I please sneak a peek before the open home? And that's another thing, trying to get out there before all the people will pounce on that property as well, is a big thing, because we've been successful in securing properties for our clients and putting a stop to a weekend open home. So
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great segue. I mean, I was going to ask you about off-market deals. Everyone, I think, especially if you're new to property investment, when you hear the word off-market, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, that's like the diamond in the rough or whatever it is. But there's obviously really terrible off-market deals as well that are off-market for a reason, because if they were to go to market, they probably wouldn't do too well. They'd become stale. There's something wrong with them. But at the same time, there are some brilliant off-market deals. And what's been your experience? Of course, you're not a sales agent. You're not trying to sell anyone a
no,
property. You're a
sure.
property
Yeah.
manager. But you've still been able to connect investors with off-market deals. How have you been able to do that? You touched on it a little bit just before. And I suppose the second part of that question is, how should people go about trying to find these off-market deals?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think my best advice is persistence will pay off. You really need to be consistent and almost unrelenting in your persistence with your relationships with sales agents. Being front of mind and being courteous, like you don't want to be pushy, right? It's a bit of a delicate dance, because if you start being too pushy or not being courteous or grateful or whatever, sales agents are going to put you at the bottom of the list, right? So you just, need to keep those interactions in your communication with agents really open, really positive, but remain persistent and consistent, because once selling agents in any area of the market, and again, as I said, you'd be picking up the phone, you'd be calling, a lot of the active agents in any given area and say, I'm looking for a property to purchase, up to 500, 600, whatever. These are the suburbs I'm focusing on. Do you have anything at the moment, or are you aware of anything coming available? Can you add me to the database? Because a lot of people have got databases. But as I said, you've got to still pick that phone up and just like, hey, just thought I'd check in as well. Is there anything new coming to the market? And also have your ducks in a row. Like, get your pre-approval sorted, know that you've got, financial capacity, you're not just shooting blanks, like, you are ready to buy. And when agents know that you're serious and you are ready to purchase and that sort of thing, and you're remaining, pleasant and consistent in your communication with them, they will ring you. They will tell you, I promise, they will let you know if they've got a property that fits within your criteria. And even as a property manager, and I guess, again, it's probably because I am so active in the market, I've even got other agencies ringing me saying, Kelly, we've got these off market, do you want to come and do a video? Because they know, first of all, I want to see the house with my own eyes. Because again, when sales agents send me videos, I'm like, I just want to have a bit of a closer look here. And go out and do those videos. And if I have clients already on my list that I know, well, this one's going to suit this client, that this one's going to suit this client, we kind of, move them around to other people as well. Even internally, like our department has, aligned clients with off-market opportunities. So when you are speaking to your property manager, ask them, do you have a sales team? Can you connect me with, one of your agents, a couple of your agents, let them know what it is that I'm looking for. Because every time I get off the phone from a new, prospective landlord phone call or investor phone call, I send emails to my team here to say, this is what the client's brief is, this is what they're looking for. Can you please, let me know or keep them front of mind as well. So we've definitely, been able to look after, people internally as well. So, yeah.
So a brand new newbie property investor can definitely get off-market deals. They just need to pick up the phone,
Yes.
but I think when they're probably hearing you say all this, probably a lot of people are thinking, well, buyers agents are picking up the phone and they're so experienced. I mean, they've probably got years under their belt. What chance do I have? Why would a sales agent give humble old PK a off-market deal when there's like five professional suited buyers agents knocking on his or her door? Like, what's been your experience on that?
Yeah. Look, I know internally in our office, I mean, we also want to obviously look after individual investors, especially people that come to us that are, knowledgeable, they're educated, they have, they know exactly what it is that they're looking for. They're not here to stuff around. And I think that's the most important thing. I don't think you have to have a buyer's agent. They're just asking the same questions as what investors are, to be honest with you, PK. They're just saying, hey, I've got a client and they've got 550,000. What do you have? And I suppose, unlike a BA, a private investor can really foster those personal relationships. You know what I mean? Because that BA may have a whole heap of other people that they're buying stock for, whereas you yourself, this is your investment, this is your property. And when you're starting to form those personal connections with sales agents, a lot of the time we're wanting to sell our stock, through investors. Just persistence, PK, is really the most important thing, is to make sure that if there is something that pops up that they think would suit you, they've enjoyed your interactions, you've been pleasant to work with, you've been polite over the phone and, in your communications and that sort of thing, they will give you a shot at it. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's very heartwarming when you said earlier, before we hit record as well, that in your experience you found that my humble clients were getting more off-market deals than what you're seeing buyers
Absolutely.
agents come through.
Yeah.
And one hype, and there might be, keen to hear your thoughts on this, but one hypothesis is, like, if I put myself in a sales agent's position, when I'm dealing with a buyer's agent, sure, they may be really nice and may be friendly with them. They might have bought me dinner one time, all that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But then I have to deal with them. Then I have to wait for that buyer's agent to deal with their client. Now, that client of theirs is not educated. That's going to take them 2 or 3 days to actually convince their client that this is the right property.
You're
Then they're
right.
going to come back to me. There might be another round of negotiation. So you're always dealing with like a middleman. Whereas
Yeah.
if I'm a sales agent and Kelly comes to me as a normal DIY investor, I'm like, well, I'm dealing with the horse's mouth. Like I'm
Yeah,
dealing
for
with the
sure.
person directly and I can get the deal done, which for
Yeah,
me, I'm a sales agent. I just want to get the deal done, right? I don't
yeah,
really care.
yeah,
I just want an
yeah.
efficient, smooth deal. So maybe that's one hypothesis. Why else do you reckon it could be that these DIY investors are getting more off-market deals than buyers agents in Toowoomba?
Yeah, like just their persistence, you know what I mean? Honestly, that is genuinely my take on it all. That you know, that they know exactly what they're looking for, that they're remaining connected with as many agents as possible. And you're right, I mentioned that to you before, that I am astounded at the number of people that have come to me and said, "Oh, hey Kelly, I found this off market. What do you think about this one?" um, you know, so many more than some of the VAs do, you know, because, you know, if you are constantly picking up the phone and you're always on top of it, and you're right with what you said about contracts, I guess, can sometimes be delayed when working through a BA. Whereas you can make a decision immediately, you know, on that property. You can negotiate immediately on your own behalf. You know, cutting out that middleman. A lot of agents do prefer that. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's funny. A lot of times, I have people messaging me, sharing the email that their buyer's agent sent them and asking me, PK, what do you think about this? So, like, imagine if I am responding to that, which I don't always do. It's just
Mm.
people DMing me, and then they're going to think about what I said. Then they're going to reply to the BA. Then that BAs are going to reply to the sales. I mean, it's a elongated sort of
Yeah,
process. Don't engage one just to get off-market deals,
yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. I just want to touch on this topic as well of what you look for when inspecting a house. Now, there's probably a criteria list that you have, but maybe let's go by exception. What do you think are like, sorry, just putting you on the spot here. What do you think are like the top, I don't know, two or three defects in a house that people miss or they overlook, or even maybe other property managers that aren't so
Yeah.
experienced, they skip over and then you only, find out 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, most of these sort of things would come up in a building report. So I'll just kind of talk about, I guess, from a visual perspective first of all. So we always do like a full perimeter walk around, you know, to check things like your eaves, you know, brickwork, your gutters, overhanging trees is a big one that I'm, you know, for, because obviously trees and branches can clog your gutters. You need to always make sure you've got your branches cut back, that sort of thing. You know, become aware of what sort of maintenance considerations your clients need to be aware of to factor those sort of expenses into their budget. If a property will need a repaint either straight away, or is that like a 3-4 year down the line sort of expense, but just still being aware and providing that sort of feedback. Neighbourhoods as well. I mean, up here in Toowoomba, you know, we've got some streets, there's a lot of housing commission properties, potentially, you know, like the houses in that street are really, you know, not that appealing. So I always like to, you know, just look around and make sure that, you know, the neighbourhood is pleasant, because even though, you know, the investor doesn't need to live there, you know, your tenant will need to. So making sure that it is, you know, appealing, that it has nice street appeal, you know, that it's a well presented and quality property that is going to attract a good quality tenant is the number one, you know, criteria.
Sure.
We don't just bring on anything at our agency. So again, if I've looked through a property and it hasn't met criteria, I'll let our clients know that as well. Because, you know, there are cheap houses, but they're usually cheap for a reason. And unless your budget has the capacity to extend towards renovations and that sort of thing, perhaps it's not the right property for you.
Right. Interesting. No, those are some very important points to consider. And are you Just in terms of maybe two last questions, in terms of the Toowoomba market, it's obviously been the darling of a lot of investors, owner occupiers. I feel Toowoomba has really reshaped itself in recent years. I was going to invest there myself, I think in 2017, but I'm glad I didn't because the vacancy rates, it wasn't in the greatest position back then, but it's completely changed. Prices have gone up in many suburbs, more than 50, 60% in the last 4 or 5 years, or even less. Are you seeing, in terms of the rental market, are you seeing vacancy rates continue to be low, or is the pressure coming out? Are you seeing rents continue to grow? I mean, they've grown 10 to, I don't know, 30, 35% in a lot of cases. Is that continuing, or is the affordability of tenants meaning that, there's a kind of cap on it? What are you seeing in the rental market?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, we have been absolutely fortunate and astounded, even within the industry of the growth that we have experienced. I tell you what, if I had a crystal ball, 5 years ago, I probably would have bought a whole lot of Toowoomba property. But, the good news is, I mean, we still have continued infrastructure spending here. There is still just the basic, dynamic of supply and demand. We are absolutely embracing as many investors as we can back to our marketplace because we simply have got or don't have, the supply of rental properties to meet the demand of our tenant market. We have what's called a tenant catchment database. So at any time of the year, we always have an active pool of those tenants that we know are actively looking for property. Just for example, if your students were to purchase a vacant property, one of the discussions I think would be really valuable for them to have with their sales agent is to even get it written into the contract permission to start to advertise the property in the lead up to settlement. As soon as it goes unconditional with that vendor's authority, your property manager can actually start to actively promote your property. And we've even been able to get keys and start doing showings before settlement. So even though we haven't been able to formalise a legal lease agreement until settlement occurs, being able to start to show that property results, most of the time in very minimal vacancy periods as well. And I know you touched on it yourself, we're not reliant on one industry in particular. There are still so many, great projects that are occurring here in Toowoomba that is going to continue to put even more pressure on an already vulnerable tenant marketplace here as people, relocate, to our city here. And there is just simply not enough development occurring here. Land's becoming a lot more scarce here. There are, there's very few subdivisions active in our marketplace at the moment. And, I suppose these are all, tick the box points for positive investment. There are still predictions for a lot more growth in our Toowoomba marketplace yet to come. The good news is, though, there's not the heat and the competition, for purchasing property here at the moment. So it's actually a pretty good time to purchase if you are still looking at Toowoomba as an investment option, because property prices, although they're still increasing, they're not increasing at the massive rate in which they were, you know what I mean? And I think interest rates probably had a lot to do with that. I mean, rate rises, nobody likes those, but I think they were probably the adjustment that the market had to have because, and it's not just specific to Toowoomba, we've seen marketplaces all over Australia just see phenomenal, property growth the last couple of years as well. And look, that there will end up being a cap or, when it comes to affordability. I mean, we work on a sort of 30% criteria on when we're processing tenants' applications as well. So we're very thorough. We don't want our tenants to end up in financial distress over properties as well, which is why we have these benchmarks, of affordability to make sure that we're aligning the right tenants with the right properties as well. But I tell you what, compared to places like Brisbane, we still have a lot of people relocating even to Toowoomba from Brisbane, from other bigger cities and townships, because Toowoomba simply still offers a very affordable option both to purchase property, you know, and from a rental perspective as well. Yeah, but look, rents have skyrocketed. It's been, you know, an exciting time for our investors to be able to, you know, capitalise on that equity that they've secured in their properties already. I mean, some of my clients who I know have come through your program, you know, they're already using that equity and growth in their property purchases to buy again, and you know, that's the whole name of the game, isn't it?
That's the name of the game. No, so true. And I don't think you mentioned, but I don't think people fully realize, right? Like Toowoomba is one of the most diversified regional centers in Queensland. It is not a sort of one trick pony or anything like that. So and migration into Toowoomba is continuing, as you said as well. So I think long term there's still plenty of value, and you know, I think there's been hundreds of my clients who have bought in Toowoomba over the previous years. Last question, perhaps for them or others as well. You know, as a property investor, we're in it to make money. There's no doubt about it. It's like a business for us, but we also want to take care of our tenants, and it must be a win-win situation. We're not here to exploit anyone. There is such a rental shortage, and as you said, there's probably more tenants than rental properties. As property investors, in your view in Toowoomba, Kelly, what can landlords do to you know, just take care of their tenants? Like, what are some pieces of advice that lead to a happy tenant?
I really like that question, PK. That's a really nice question. So, you know, looking after your tenants is and needs to be still something that investors consider, because good quality tenants are worth their weight in gold. We want to see good quality tenants renewing lease after lease, you know, not the constant in and out if that can be avoided. Now, although obviously you purchase investment property to see that growth, to benefit from that, you know, and to have obviously as much of your rent cover your own financial responsibilities as possible. If you are starting to enjoy the benefit of significant rental increases, even just making some slight improvements to your property, you know, to enhance your tenants' enjoyment of that home. Even things like converting basic light fittings to ceiling fan light combinations, or, you know, if there's just an aircon in the living room, maybe pop one in the master bedroom, you know, or you know, just doing things to, you know, basic enhancements around the property that are going to, you know, have your tenants saying, oh, look, you know, they're doing this to the property now. I really want to stay. I want to renew my lease. Even though the rent is increasing, I really, you know, I love the home. I love the area. And we're seeing that a lot more now, PK, tenants wanting to renew leases as opposed to gambling, vacating that property and having to re-enter that crazy tenant marketplace and having to go through the stress of, you know, applying for a lot of other rental properties as well. I think it's really nice when investors can give back to their tenants. Our job as property managers, anytime a lease is up for renewal, or obviously if you're purchasing an investment property, I will give you a full rental report that gives you an idea of, you know, market conditions, both the minimum and the maximum rental return, in my opinion, that I think your property is worth. Our whole team do that for our clients every time a lease is up for a renewal as well. You know, and that's dictated by the market. It is not investors being greedy, and I think there's a real misconception out there that it's just all like, oh, you know, like that. It actually isn't. You know, it's the reason why I guess at any time of the year you can end up paying more for bananas at the fruit shop. You know, just supply and demand is a significant factor all over the marketplace in Australia. You know, there has to be a limit eventually, because people's incomes, you know, will end up, you know, not being able to survive, you know, the hikes in, you know, rental values, you know, at a certain stage. But at the moment, as I said, and, you know, especially in marketplaces like Toowoomba, we're still a very affordable, you know, place for people to live. And, you know, we haven't experienced, thankfully, you know, much financial distress from our tenants, because we support them if we think that obviously their affordability doesn't quite stack up. We try and put them into another one of our properties that is better suited to their individual circumstances as well.
Sure. No, it makes sense. That's a great answer, and I think it's very important to think about the property journey with tenants front in mind as well, because ultimately we're providing a home, a shelter for them, and we're doing a favor and they're doing a favor for us. So it has to be a win-win sort of situation for everyone involved. But I think we'll leave it there. But I'm very grateful for your time, Kelly, and I think you're obviously one of the most astute and experienced. And I would just say, like, you mentioned before, when you call a property manager to see if they're right for you or not, you kind of get that feeling, like just in your gut. And I think as people watch or listen to this, they're probably getting that feeling that, people like Kelly are who I want on my side. So I think you probably get a lot of people reaching out to you after this. Let's see. Don't blame me, but thank you for sharing your insights. And thank you as well personally for taking care of so many clients of mine that you have.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for this opportunity. And if any of your clients are watching and have purchased in Toowoomba and know me already, I want to say a big hello. And just thank you for trusting us with your valuable asset.
No problem, no problem. Well, thank you everyone for listening as well. Like I said at the start, and I genuinely believe it, property managers are the most important part of your sort of property investing team. Please make sure you get a good one in all states and territories, cities or towns in which you're planning to buy or you already have bought, and they will serve you in the long term to ultimately, retire early and get that financial independence. And thank you again, Kelly. Really appreciate it.